Welcome to Decrypt, Asia's first blockchain and cryptocurrency podcast. I'm your host, Tushar. Each week, we take a deep dive into the Asian blockchain scene with investors, technologists, and industry insiders. Go to decrypt.asia to subscribe to our newsletter and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Telegram to join in the discussions. Hi, guys. Our guest for today's show is JP Thor, CEO of CanYa, a global marketplace of peer-to-peer services with a cryptocurrency payment layer. JP is a former Air Force pilot, an early Bitcoin adopter, and a blockchain ambassador. He serves as an advisor to multiple blockchain startups, including Loki and Trust Wallet. Welcome to the show, JP.
Hello, Tushar. Thanks for having me on Decrypt Asia podcast. I'm very excited to chat to you today about our journey so far, CanYa as the decentralized service place for the world, and where we hope to take this project.
Very excited to have you on as well. Before we dig into what you're building, could you tell us a little bit about your background? How did you go from being an Air Force pilot to ending up in the blockchain and cryptocurrency ecosystem?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I left school and I started aeronautic engineering with the Air Force and then transitioned towards being a pilot. I flew with the Air Force operationally for about 11 years. But the takeaway from my aeronautic engineering degree was when I was first introduced to computer science. And I was captivated by the fact that you can create self-running applications using code. So I continued that as a bit of a hobby throughout my Air Force career, rolling out a bunch of iOS apps and PC-based apps using .NET. And then I discovered Bitcoin in 2013. And straight away, I was love at first sight. I really gravitated towards the idea of a decentralized peer-to-peer currency that is superior in all facets than traditional currencies. So I really committed to the industry, got involved, but more than just the speculative side, I was, like I said, gravitated towards the potential of the idea. So I just stayed involved in the industry right through to 2016 when I decided I reached my peak operational output with the Air Force, and I wanted to leave sideways to really explore technology and cryptocurrency. So that's when we launched CanYa, which was a decentralized peer-to-peer service place about a year and a half ago. And then at the same time, this about over a year ago, we noticed the Ethereum had rolled out, and the whole concepts of decentralized applications, smart contracts, never stopping, really captivated our team. So we decided to make the jump straight into a decentralized application over a year ago. Completed the ICO last year, and now here we are in 2018, rolling out the decentralized service place. And we're very excited about where we can take this.
And why this idea? I mean, why come up with a decentralized peer-to-peer marketplace?
Sure. So we looked at the incumbents, such as Upwork, Freelancer.com, et cetera, who take very high commissions. Reviews can be manipulated. Wealth and data is not self-sovereign. And the entire marketplace is centralized and hindered by requiring internal operational support. And by that, I mean that when you're launching a global marketplace, the technology can always scale. What stops a marketplace scaling is the operational side, the legal side, the accounting side, all the stuff that slows down its growth. What we recognize is if you transition away from a centralized marketplace and make it a decentralized marketplace, you can scale a lot faster by returning that value back to its own users. So as a result, a decentralized service place compared to a traditional service place has really low fees. The value is recycled straight back into the economy. The operational and support can scale just as quickly as the user base grows by paying users to provide that support to the platform. There's very low legal and accounting overhead, as value is not transmitted through the platform. Value is transmitted around the platform using escrows in the blockchain. And additionally, the payments can be made instantly, globally, borderless. So we're very, very excited about how disruptive it can be. Obviously, no one's done it before. We're certainly thinking on our own feet and learning from first principles. But and the takeaway line is it's the gig economy powered by the gig economy.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to sum it up. So if I'm a stakeholder, so I could be a service provider, or I could be someone who's looking to use a service. What does the journey look like today for me?
Sure. So we are busy finalizing the first version, the mainstream version of our platform. And we are definitely focusing on the user experience. What we've recognized with blockchain and cryptocurrencies is the user experience is actually quite bad so far. And the onboarding cost of onboarding intellectual costs is very high. So it cuts out who has the time and motivation to join the platform. So what we're really trying to solve is user experience and the onboarding flow into cryptocurrency to almost make it like as though you don't even need to know about cryptocurrency blockchain. You just use it as a platform and you get to experience all the benefits. So essentially for providers, they use a self-sovereign identity platform such as Uport. They very quickly log in. They put up the skills and services, which can be verified using crowdsourced intelligence and then immutably verified on the blockchain, and then list their skills and services. Users can come to the platform, also log in using a self-sovereign identity service, and then they get to see all these providers. And the skills and claims that the providers make about themselves are verifiably proven through crowdsourced intelligence. So the users are comfortable dealing with these providers because they know there's no fake reviews and there's no fake profiles. And when they commit to a job, users are required to put up the value of the job in an escrow held on the blockchain. So for the provider, they know that the job is backed by real money and they're not going to get fleeced. Additionally, by holding the value in escrow, it gives the provider and user leverage against each other if something were to go wrong. So the user can use the leverage of an escrow to get the value that they need, and the provider can use the leverage of the escrow to essentially deliver that value and know that they can get paid.
Yeah.
So that's the experience.
Yep. So you mentioned this concept about escrow, and I'm going to get into more detail as we go on. But moving back to the application, so all the things that you mentioned in terms of being able to log in with a self-sovereign identity application, can one do all of those things today? Or is that still something that's under development?
No, so we use Uport. So Uport's been around for over 6 months now.
Yep.
It's maturing. I think it's just off testnet as well. But yeah, you can log in with Uport easily. We want to take this further by building our own ERC 725 based identity platform with our cooperation with Origin Protocol, who are the pioneers of this space. And that's ongoing research. But for now, we can use Uport.
Okay. So before jumping into what you kind of brought up, the bit about the escrow transactions, I want to talk a little bit about your token CAN. So it has a few roles on the platform. Could you talk a little bit about it?
Sure. So we want to pitch CAN as a medium of exchange with low velocity, as well as a store of value in our DAO. And let me explain that. So obviously, money can possess several forms. Medium of exchange, I can transfer you this value. It can be a unit of account, as in if you ask for 10 units and I can give you 10 measurable and fungible units. And lastly, the most desired property of money is that it's a good store of value, as in it will retain its value today as it was yesterday. If tokens are just solely a medium of exchange, then they can perform the job just as well as being a $100 token as it was a 1 cent token. It just means I have to pay 1,000 times more if it's 1 cent. But it can be a medium exchange and a unit account no matter the price. If you can solve for store of value, that's where the real utility of the token lies. So we do it by a couple of things. One is we incentivize our users to essentially reduce circulating supply by staking their tokens in our DAO or in our hodl club. Once they stake tokens, they can earn from a range of micro tasks, which also, through self-interested activity, further advances the benefit of the ecosystem. For example, I'm a staker of a token. I log into the DAO, I put 1,000 CAN in there, and I see all these micro tasks that I can then do and earn more CAN to complete, such as helping other users on board, resolving disputes, tagging categories, etc., etc. So that can help slow down the velocity of the token, as well as presenting as a store of value. As in, I'm a DAO user, I know my 1,000 CAN is worth X today, it will be worth X tomorrow, the same amount. To reduce the velocity is another aspect we're trying to do, and that's fundamentally revolves around our hedge escrow. Reducing velocity is important in if essentially with the monetary theory of inflation. If you reduce velocity, then the price will naturally increase. If an economy has a set monetary base and a set quantity. So we do this by incentivizing our users to put CAN into an escrow, which is held there for an hour, 1 day, a week, depending on how long the job needs to be performed before it gets finally released to the provider. The last aspect of what we're trying to do is essentially to increase buy-side pressure and reduce sell-side pressure. And in order to do this, we're building a modular service called CanPay, which basically allow our users to convert any currency that they want, anywhere in the world, credit cards, Bitcoin, Litecoin, CAN, Ether, any other token, very quickly and easily into CAN. So essentially the way you view it is we're opening up the funnel to all currencies to get the quickly into CAN, allowing it to be escrowed and hedged in our escrow, and then finally released to the provider. And the last little bit is we incentivize our providers to keep their CAN by not charging any fees to hold their CAN or to be paid in CAN. If they then wanted to convert the CAN out into another currency, there's a small barrier, i.e. through a fee, to essentially slow down the exit side. So yeah, that's basically what we're trying to do.
And I see that prices are quoted in USD at the moment on your website. So is your token being used currently as a medium of exchange on the platform?
We have had our platform out for a few months in private beta, and we have had a few jobs done. We were originally pitching the jobs as a CAN per hour, but we're going to switch this to $1 per hour because our users are more familiar with dollars per hour. And the value which is held in the escrow is actually hedged to USD, not CAN. I can explain how it's hedged later.
Yeah. So, but in the background, so, on the website, in terms of a user interface, the prices are still quoted in dollars because, your users as well as your service providers are a little bit more comfortable with that. But in the background, is the transaction happening in CAN tokens, or is that still happening in dollars through a bank transfer?
Correct. So, first bit was correct. So let's say I'm a provider and I'm charged $100 per hour. If CAN is say $1, then that will be 100 CAN per hour.
Got it.
So when I first agree to an hour-long job at $100 per hour, then myself as a user needs to put in essentially 100 CAN because that will make up $100. At the same time, our escrow records in its functionality that $100 has been agreed to, not in terms of CAN, but in terms of dollars.
Yep.
And then we have a large hedge based on stablecoins, USD stablecoins, as well as the Digit stablecoin.
Yep.
If 2 weeks later, when the job's done, the provider goes to withdraw, if the 100 CAN is now worth less than $100, we will autonomously buy into our own escrow and honor the $100 by paying out more CAN. So in case the price decreased by 10%, the provider will end up with 111, 110 tokens, CAN tokens to make it $100. And this act of doing an on-market buy through the Bancorp protocol, a continuous liquidity contract, to buy into the token to issue out more, it actually has a price correcting functionality. If conversely, the 100 CAN is now worth $110, then we can siphon off that $10 to put back into the hedge to be used for a future payment. So it's kind of like an agreement. Hey, you've agreed to pay your provider $100. The CAN hedged in contract will always honor $100. It will protect downside, and it'll also siphon off the upside to be used to protect later downsides. Mm-hmm. So that's how it works. It's being built at the moment. Obviously, there's a lot of things to get right, but we hope to provide that functionality so that people can use that platform and know that they will always be paid what they agreed to be paid in USD and the functionality of the hedge escrow has price corrective functions.
Right. And are you still going to work with Digix? Is that still something that you're
Yeah, we're very excited about Digix. Essentially, it's a hedge not just against crypto, but it's a hedge against the USD.
Yeah.
It means that, and it generally outperforms the USD. So if we have a large amount hedged in gold, represented by the token, then we know our hedge will outperform the USD. Historically, it does. Gold does. So we know our hedge can essentially protect more downside in the future.
But you're not looking to hedge over the long term, right? I mean, you're looking to hedge over shorter periods of time, a couple of weeks, 3 weeks at most, 4 weeks.
Correct. So you're right, we don't hedge our market, we don't hedge the entire escrow. We simply hedge on a per transaction basis. And if you should know, each transaction has different maturity lengths. So providers and users enter in agreements with each other at any time of day for any length of time. So with a fluctuating market, overall, we can balance out the market and honor all transactions by using one transaction's upside to cover another transaction's downside, so that everyone gets paid what they agreed, no more and no less.
Yeah. No, I understand the concept. I'm just trying to figure out why Digix.
So it's not all Digix. It's we're going to use other stablecoins like DII, USD stablecoin. Digix will just be one component of the escrow.
Right.
Sorry.
Right. And so while service providers are listing their jobs, do they have an option of choosing between USD and your token in terms of what they want to get paid in? Or do they have to go with the CAN token?
So they choose to get paid a value, i.e. $100 per hour.
Okay.
But that value is transmitted via the CAN token, which can hold value. As we know, the CAN has market price.
Yeah.
So if we have an effective escrow, an effective marketplace, there should always be more people buying into CAN than selling out, if it's all working well. So for the provider getting paid in CAN, they actually know that that CAN will hold its value, and with the correct growth characteristics of the platform, they know that CAN is not really going to see a downside. It should always see an upside. So that will incentivize them to hold CAN, which will further reduce velocity.
Yeah. So, I understand that you've put several you've obviously thought things through in terms of your token economics, and you've, tried to put all of these through to your token. But I think the way the crypto ecosystem works today, I think it still takes a little bit of time for the token economics to play out, right? I'm not sure if you have any thoughts on that. I mean, I think, some of the very good projects, great token economics, based on the token economics, the token price should be appreciating mildly, but it doesn't. It just keeps going down because of market sentiment. So there's that speculative element as well, right? I mean, you can design a great token, but it's still subject to sort of not manipulation, but I would say speculation.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. It's an emerging nascent industry. The technology is very immature. It needs to scale properly. There's a lot of problems around that. Tokenized economies are very, very new. Even Augur just launched a week ago, and it's been in development for over 18 months.
Yep.
Digix is releasing their DAO soon. So we've never seen a fully fledged, mature tokenized economy. We're very, very familiar with traditional economies, fiat-based economies, and we know the principles and theory around that, but we've never actually seen a mature token economy. So we definitely have to think on our feet, and we definitely have to stay in dialogue with other projects, with our own community. But we're very excited to give it a good crack, and the fundamentals are there for it to work. And, we think that, we just want to give it a crack, and our token holders and our community are very supportive of this.
Just a quick question. So, I mean, I think I read somewhere that you're you quoted some individual who said that the first people who are going to get into cryptocurrency are not going to buy it, they're going to earn it.
Yeah, that was Brian Armstrong, the CEO of
Oh,
Coinbase.
that's right.
And
Yeah.
yeah, he's absolutely right. Most of the world don't have disposable income. We're lucky that some of us might have disposable income where we can invest it into cryptocurrency or hold cryptocurrency. But the rest of the world don't have that position. And we think that but everyone gets paid, right? Everyone needs to put food on the table. Everyone has six jobs and wishes to get paid. So we think by targeting the payment economy and the gig economy and the work economy, we can essentially approach a much larger cross-section of the world's communities.
And so as a service provider, so when I've put up my profile, I've put a price, I've listed my skills, I receive a job, I do the job. Do you guys like how will I set up a wallet? Like, where do the CAN tokens come? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out from someone who's just coming into this world, someone who's never bought cryptocurrency, they're going to receive their first cryptocurrency as payment. I mean,
yeah, exactly. So
it's not going to be that straightforward for me to like set up a wallet, receive these CAN tokens, convert them to ETH, sell it out in the market. I mean, it's still a pretty cumbersome process, right?
Correct. And you're right. There is a learning curve associated with holding self-sovereign wealth. There are kind of intermediary platforms that bridge this by being custodial, such as Coinbase or Crypto.com with the MCO wallet and the MCO token.
Yeah.
We don't want to be custodial, so we don't want to create a bank to hold people's crypto. We're against that. So instead, we're going to tackle user experience and user education to allow them to be safe, but self-sovereign. So we'll have to work with a whole bunch of other projects who are a little more specific in this regard, such as Amise Go and Humanic, etc., who are literally tackling getting crypto into the hands of people without bank accounts. But we're under no illusion to the difficulty of this. And our initial kind of industry that we're targeting are digital freelancers who are comfortable with tech, comfortable with internet, comfortable with cryptocurrency and blockchain concepts. So we think that if we tell them, hey, you need to set up a wallet when you on board with this platform, they aren't going to freak out and they'll be able to step themselves through the process. That's why we have a close partnership and close relationship with Trust Wallet. Trust Wallet is hands down the best Ethereum and token wallets, and it's free, it's easy use, it's safe, the user experience is excellent, and we believe that just by directing our users to download the Trust Wallet and setting up a Trust Wallet account for CanYa integration, then a lot of that is taken care of.
Yeah, I think that seems like a fair strategy. So high level speaking, it's clear that you kind of decided to start off being relatively centralized and then over a period of time move to greater decentralization. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So we are believers decentralization. We're believers of self-sovereign data, wealth, and identity. And we don't want to take any shortcuts around being custodial or, taking decent. But we're realist.
But is there a reason why you decided to take this approach? Kind of start being centralized and then move towards decentralization?
The tech's not ready, sorry to say, but you can't launch a dApp on Ethereum today, a fully decentralized dApp. And even dApps are not fully decentralized. There's still a server, there's still DNS, there's still contracts that are written by people. So it's just not ready. In 2 years' time, when we have, say, more mature Plasma, Dfinity, which will be able to host websites, etc., then maybe, and even decentralized databases to store backend code, serverless code, maybe in future you can push out a completely decentralized app where the database, the compute, the hosting, the DNS is all decentralized. Even the contract code is not updated by individuals. It's updated through DAOs where there is on-chain governance or contract-based governance. Then that's where it is. But as of today, no, it's not decentralized. Can't launch a dApp. And that's why we're working. So all of our dApps we deploy across Firebase or Alibaba Cloud Services to access the Chinese market. But we are progressively bringing in elements of decentralization, like decentralized databases, decentralized file storage, like IPFS, and work our way there. Even the payment side, because our DAO has micropayments, we are working closely with state and payment channel providers such as Seller Network to allow our providers and our DAO users to get paid micropayments. We're talking like, point ones, 0.001s of a can, less than a cent. And these are done through payment channels, which are fast, instant, and extremely low fees. And that's based on partnerships with, say, Seller Network. And, we're monitoring what Loom's doing, Loom Network, as well as Plasma.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yep. Interesting. So you mentioned applications. I see you've developed a bunch of applications beyond the marketplace. Is that to support the ecosystem?
Yeah, so we're not just a marketplace. We're not just a DApp. We are a decentralized service place and an ecosystem. So instead of just rolling out like a Upwork or a Fiverr clone, we're actually building not just the marketplaces, but the infrastructure around it and the ecosystem to support it. So we're talking everything from modular, highly reusable code, that open source code that anyone in the world can download, clone, fork, throw into a DApp, deploy very, very quickly, and plug it into our DAO to receive operational support. We're talking any marketplace using all of our open source code. And like I said, our DAO can support not just our dApps, but anyone else's dApps, even websites, quite effectively. And that's our vision, is that we don't just create one marketplace, but we create thousands of marketplaces. And the code is highly modular, allowing thousands of developers to be working on it at the same time, or pay for bounties from our DAO, which is self-serving and self-developing. So that's the vision. The vision is there is no team and there is no company. There's just simply a DAO, which is self-sustaining, self-developing, self-maintaining, and it has direct token economics to be recycling value back into the ecosystem to achieve essentially levels of growth we've probably never seen before.
Sounds interesting and utopic, but let's see. I guess it'll play out.
Yeah, so core thing is on-chain governance. So there's 3 levels to our DAO. Our DAO is permissionless, so anyone can join. But there's tiered levels. There's essentially member, admin, and core. For the next discernible future, our team will be core. So we will veto code. We will make exactly the decisions on where the code base is going, where the ecosystem is going. But in a year, 2 years' time, we intend to hand over core responsibilities to proven members of the community in such a way that it's Byzantine resistant and requires supermajority consensus all the time to move, and it's effective so that no one can attack the ecosystem, but everyone is economically aligned. And no one's built this yet. This is still very much a concept of theory. No one's done it before.
Yeah.
But we're definitely willing to give it a crack, and everything's there to do it.
Yep. So I think Tezos is trying to solve the problem of on-chain governance as well. I think that's the route that they're taking. Again, remains to be seen how it plays out.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer of on-chain governance and validator signaling, whereby it's not just hey, let's sit down and do a vote once a month. It's actually like, let's vote on proposals every single block, which could happen every twice a second.
Yeah.
So that the validators who secure the network, or the collators, or the miners, or the block producers, they are voting on proposals every single second, so it can be rapidly integrated. But the key thing, though, is preventing plutocracies and preventing out-of-band governance that we've seen with, say, EOS, and making sure that minorities have a voice and are able to swing votes and influence, the whales. And you can solve this using mechanisms such as quadratic polling and enforced voting to increase voting participation rights. So it's all about designing the core protocol in such a way that it solves these issues. And don't get me wrong, these issues are hard, but they can be solved. And I think I'm very excited, and we'll definitely watch out to the space for sure.
Yep. So you mentioned a couple of projects. You mentioned Definity, you mentioned Loom. So beyond your own project, is there any particular project that really excites you, that you're really looking forward to in the next year or so?
Casper V2. I'm a big supporter of Vitalik and the Ethereum's team of correct governance and correct decentralization. I think other protocols have taken some shortcuts here.
Yeah.
But Casper V2, when it rolls out, will be very decentralized. It will be secure. It will have the correct economics to allow anyone to contribute and help secure the network without plutocracy taking, hijacking the network. And it should be highly performant with off-chain, side-chain scaling. The key misunderstanding here is for people to think that you can push everything onto layer one. If you look back how the internet was built back in the early 90s, we didn't build on layer one. And indeed, layer one is broadcast transactions across all ports. We instead built unicast transactions, TCP/IP, allowing one computer to talk directly to another computer without having to talk to all computers on the network. And then we built on top of that. We built APIs, we built, Bootstrap, et cetera, rolling out to, 2008, 2009, 2010 era, when we were pushing out apps like WhatsApp, Uber, Airbnb that made use of this stack to really bring the internet and apps to mainstream. We're seeing that right now with blockchain. We've been used to layer one for so long, which is broadcast transactions. Now we're moving on to layer two. And then there's probably going to be a layer three and a layer four. And that's great. That's where we need to go. And in my mind, layer one defines as secure as value. Layer two is the unicast transaction of that value. Layer three would be the interface on layer two, allowing traditional web infrastructure and user-facing apps to talk to layer two. And layer four would be like a user experience wrapper of everything. So, and I think this is still five years away, but the vision is I'll be able to download an app on my phone and it's going to be trustless, decentralized, and highly performant. And it's a multi-layer future.
Yeah, sounds great. Before we wrap up, is there anything else that you would like to mention that we may not have covered?
Oh, well, the thing about blockchain and cryptocurrencies is that it's a crazy world. Literally every day something's changing. The landscape's constantly changing. So just to all your listeners right now in the current kind of sideways bear market, this is the future. And I really encourage everyone to take a deep dive into the knowledge, the fundamentals of blockchain, and not get too worried about the speculative side of everything. That's secondary to actually delivering on technology. And this is what I tell my team: just focus on delivering, focus on knowledge, and then, the next 5-10 years are going to be a wild but very enjoyable ride.
Yep, it's been wild indeed, at least so far, and I don't see that changing.
No.
All right. On that note, I think that's a good note to end this interview. Thank you, JP, for taking the time out to come speak with us. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity to chat.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Like us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Telegram, and subscribe to our newsletter on decrypt.asia. This is your host, Tushar. Thank you for listening.